Hi everybody. So a lot of you have asked me for sort of like a prequel video of how to make the actual dough for the challah, for the how-to video that I did for the 6 braid challah. So, my pleasure. Here's a video on how to make challah dough. So, I've already prepared my ingredients and I already activated my yeast. So this is my yeast that I've activated in a cup of warm water, and the water was between 105 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So this was actually 105, like on the dot. And to that I added 1 teaspoon of sugar and 1 pack of yeast. So I think it's about 8 grams per pack. And I let it sit in a warm space for 10 minutes. So this is what it looks like. If you think of like a draft beer, it has a really, it has a pretty thick head. It's about like maybe about an inch or so. And it smells really yeasty. So I have that's ready to go. In a large mixing bowl, I've added 2 eggs, a 1/4 cup of sugar or honey. The first one I did honey. Today I'm going to try sugar because I want to see what the difference is in the taste. And 1/2 cup of oil. So I actually did sort of like a mix of canola oil and olive oil. I put in the olive oil because I happen to like the flavor of olive oil. That's totally up to you. Most people would probably go for a neutral tasting oil, so like canola, corn oil, sunflower, safflower, one of those. So basically, we're gonna mix all our wet ingredients. Step number 1. So just by hand, you could use a whisk to mix this up, but once you're making bread from scratch, I say you get in there with your hands because like it's part of the experience. So all of those ingredients are completely mixed. And now I'm gonna add in the yeast water mixture right in there, okay? So I'm gonna mix that in. And obviously it goes without saying, before you even get started, wash your hands because like yeast is a bacteria, any other bacteria is gonna affect your dough, so it's a good idea to always wash your hands. Even if you weren't making yeast dough, whenever you're in the kitchen, step 1, wash your hands. Just basic kitchen rules. So that is all incorporated together. Now we're gonna start adding in the flour. I'm gonna sit down to say this because this is important. When it comes to bread, there's no strict amount of flour that you're gonna put in because there's so many factors that will affect how much flour you're gonna need. The ambient temperature of your room, the humidity in the room, the humidity that day, how forcefully you scooped your flour. We're gonna say it's somewhere between 3 and 4 cups for this amount of liquid, but the key is to add the flour gradually so that you just have just the amount that you need. If you put in too much all at once, your dough's gonna get like stiff and almost seize up, and you're not gonna develop the gluten that you need, you're not gonna be able to work it, it's just gonna be this like tough, dense mess, and we don't want that. So, like I said, in this bowl I have, this is 4 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm gonna go slow. So, I'm just gonna put in some, and I'm gonna mix it in slowly. So, I'm just sort of stirring it around with my fingers. Obviously, this is nowhere near enough, but the point is that I'm mixing it in gradually. I'm scraping the sides, and we're looking for the dough sort of just to come together in like a solid, malleable mass. Right now it's like a gluey goop. We don't want gluey goop, so we're gonna keep going. The first challah that I did, I used almost the full 4 cups. And like I said, so many variable factors that are gonna affect the final amount of flour that you need. Some days maybe you'll need less, some days you might even need more. So always keep a little bit of extra flour on the side. You're gonna need extra flour anyways to knead the dough. We call that bench flour, so flour for your workbench. So you could always take from that. And see, now it's starting to come together more of what a dough should look like. So now I'm gonna start sort of like, since I can't really mix it with my fingers anymore, I'm almost doing like a knead. So I'm like scraping from the outside and pushing it in. I'm scraping from the outside and pushing it in. See, and I did what I told you guys not to do. I added too much flour at once. So I'm going to turn it out on my dough. Once it's already sort of come together, then you can start kneading it. So for mine, since I sort of added too much already, I'm gonna start kneading it and see what I need. So this is still quite sticky, and it'll stick to your hands, and that's fine. It's, you know, part of the process. So now I am ready for a little bit more flour, and now we're gonna start kneading. So how do we knead dough? You sort of push it out with your palm, and then you circle back. So it's like you push it out and bring it back in. Trying to get a good angle here. You push it out, bring it back in, and you rotate it. Push it out, bring it back in, and you're just gonna keep doing that. And the purpose of kneading, you're developing the gluten, that lovely protein that we all love and hate so much. So when it comes to bread, you want to have a really sort of like, you want to have full gluten development. Now what does that mean? Gluten is like a matrix. It's like a matrix, a web of proteins. And what it does is that it, like I say, it creates like this web that traps the carbon dioxide gas from escaping. So that leads to rise. So like yeast, basically like the yeast eats the sugar, it releases carbon dioxide, and it expands. So what the gluten does is that it creates this really strong matrix so that the gas actually can't escape, and what happens is that the dough expands, and that's how bread works. So that's why gluten-free bread is usually crappy, because there's no gluten to trap the escaping gas, and the gas just escapes. So you're left with sort of like this dense, crumbly brick. It's gotten better. Maybe one day I'll do a gluten-free bread recipe, which would be new, and that would be a challenge for me, so that would be cool. But right now, my dough is really coming together nicely. So what's happening? Again, you're looking for, you could do what's called like looking for the gluten window, where you would take a little piece of dough and like stretch it, and it shouldn't rip. I'm not gonna bore you guys with that. But basically, like when I press into the dough, can't see that, when I press into the dough, it hasn't fully sprung back yet, so I'll probably have some more kneading. You will have to knead it for a few minutes, but you're looking for something that's elastic, something that's smooth, not, for this particular bread, not too sticky. So like you don't want it sticking to the table. I don't have anything stuck to my table. But really you're looking for like a nice smooth surface. So like if you can see that, and it does spring back, if you saw that. So now I'm just gonna sort of form my dough into a round ball. Okay, nice and round. It has a nice smooth, tight surface. And I'm gonna put that into another mixing bowl, clean mixing bowl, and I just sprayed this with a little bit of Pam. You could use any kind of oil. Again, just lightly grease the bowl. You're gonna put your dough ball in there. And this is where our dough ball is gonna rise. So I'm now gonna cover this with a damp tea towel, and I'm gonna put it, I'm gonna leave it again in a warm room to rise until it's about doubled in size. So anywhere from like 1.5 to 2 hours. You want to dampen your tea towel, and that's going to help keep the bread moist, and it's going to prevent a skin from forming. It's going to prevent it from drying out. So just something to be mindful of. Again, like I said, there's lots of factors that affect bread making. Room temperature is one of them. So you're ideally looking for like about 24 degrees Celsius. I tested my kitchen before. I have like a thermometer, and I just turned it on, and it happens to be 23-ish degrees. So that's cool beans. So I will be back later. Enjoy.